Is this thing on? Cool.
Oh, SportsCrit Lab, SportsCrit Lab. Interrogate, liberate, that's a plan. Yeah, SportsCrit Lab, SportsCrit Lab. For every parent, coach, and fan.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the SportsCrit Lab Podcast, where we disrupt the narrative and rewrite the playbook, baby. I'm your host, Dr. Gyasmine George-Williams. The people call me Dr. G. I'm the brains and the beauty behind SportsCrit. And we're going to talk a little bit about a particular caveat that doesn't get analyzed, particularly through an intellectual or academic lens. And that's the economics of sports. So here we go. We're not just talking about the systems, right? We're talking about all the power players that pull the strings, which types of power concedes, what's being built, and what's being made right before our very eyes. The topic that we're going to talk about today is the WNBA and the collective bargaining agreement negotiations. So the really cool thing that I have in my hashtag SportsCrit Classroom is this wonderful playground of theories, of frameworks, and honestly, so much media information and resources to pull from, where it's like, absolutely, this is our next episode. And once again, it's always another fun lecture that I get to share with my students. So we're going to step into one of the most powerful, important labor negotiations in modern sports, and that's the WNBA collective bargaining agreement. So y'all may have seen headlines that look like salary cap movement. Negotiations are ongoing. No deal yet, right? You may have seen those, but SportsCrit, we ask a different question, good people. We want to know not just what's happening, but why it's happening. Okay, and why it's happening right now. So the central tenets of SportsCrit looks like this: progress is made when power gets paid. Okay, that's a little bit. What's the spice? That's a little bit of a spice I'm giving you as a precursor to the SportsCrit framework and also to the forthcoming book, Teaching the Tough Plays: A SportsCrit Pedagogy for Equity in Sports Education. But this is a perfect example of the WNBA and the way that things are going, the way that they're navigating, the way that the powers that be are responding to said negotiations. It's a perfect example of interest convergence. So let's go with our first segment. Here we go. The headlines versus the structure. So here's some major developments. Players are now asking for 25% of the gross league revenue. So I want to be clear as I continue to unpack gross and net and what exactly that looks like, right? So there's net, the powers that be, the execs, the commissioner. What they are proposing is a larger amount of the net revenue. Okay, so all right, that's not bad, Dr. G. No, the net is what's left after the higher ups get paid. The net is like, okay, let me pay him, her, them, they, Kathy, Kathy's gonna get a piece. And then what's left over, they want to share that with the players. The players are saying, hell no, that makes no sense. The players are the product. The players are the reasons why these arenas are being sold out. Oh my, okay. So players are asking now gross. So that means what they make off rip, they want 25% of that. Now they started off asking for 40%, right? And so when we look at most major men's sports, particularly the NBA, because that's the brother league, right? Adam Silver is the commissioner of the NBA, and so he's heavily involved because WNBA and the NBA, they're essentially kind of one entity. But the NBA, the men get 51% of the revenue, okay, that is made. Ticket sales, merch, right? Broadcasting rights, I will look into that, but I'm almost positive they do as well. And so players roughly receive about 50% of the league revenue. And so the WNBA has entered this union negotiations asking for half of the industry norm. That's not radical, that's strategic, okay? Let me tell you why. That tells us something very important. The players moved first, or the players conceded first, etc. And what does this look like to the real economic context? The WNBA. So I want to go to the next segment, where I touched upon this, but I want to give you an actual figure so that we can really see the value and understand this hidden battle. Gross versus net revenue. You ready? Let's buckle up. I'm going to break it down even more succinctly. So let's talk about this hidden battle. Gross versus net revenue. I want to give you a particular kind of figure so you can really see what's going on here. Let's really break it down. All right. So here's how things are getting very interesting. Players want a share of the gross league revenue, right? Now, usually anything that we call gross is not a good thing, but we want the gross, baby. Give me the gross, baby. Give me the loot. Give me the loot. Okay. And speaking of that, I learned that the hard way. My first job, 15, I was at Dominic's Shoe Store in the Montclair Mall. Shout out if you know what I'm talking about. Okay. And I remember I got my first paycheck. I said gross and net. Now I was in the back sorting, kitten heels for 6 hours, and this is what you give me? You give me what? The net? Okay, so I learned that the hard way. Okay, so players want a share of the gross revenue, right? Owners prefer a share of the net. What's the difference? It may sound just technical, but let me tell you, it's actually very enormous. So let's get into it. Let me show you why. All right. So imagine the league earns $200 million in revenue. Let's just throw it out there so you can really see, what we're doing up in here. If the players receive 25% of the gross revenue, which is what they want, they would receive $50 million. Okay. But if the owners subtract the expenses first, that means, right, the net revenue, which is what they want. Okay. 25% of that, let's say the expenses of the 200 million, they say, oh, we need about 140 of that. Okay, so $200 million that they made in revenue. If we go the net route where the league takes whatever expenses they need, and let's say it's about $140 million in expenses, then 25% of that becomes 15 million. Same percentage, completely different outcome. Am I making sense? This is why labor economists say that the real question in sport labor negotiations isn't really the percentage. It's gross versus net. It's what counts as revenue. And because whoever defines revenue defines the power and ultimately controls the system. We'll be right back. Hey, good people. It's Dr. G. And if you love what I'm doing here on the podcast, you are going to be thrilled about my upcoming book titled Teaching the Tough Plays, a SportsCrit Pedagogy for Equity in Sport Education. This groundbreaking text dives deep into how educators, coaches, and activists can use the SportsCrit pedagogy and framework to tackle complex issues of race, justice, intersectionality, and equity in sports and sports education. Packed with practical insights, real-world examples, and innovative strategies, this book is a must-have for anyone committed to transforming the landscape of athletics through the critical thought and action. Whether if you're a teacher looking to bring powerful conversations into your classroom, a coach committed to inclusive and socially conscious leadership, or a scholar pushing the boundaries of sport and social justice, good people, Teaching the Tough Plays is designed specifically for you. So stay tuned, keep listening to the podcast, but Teaching the Tough Plays is coming your way. For all updates, exclusive content, events, and more, follow us at SportsCrit Lab, and don't forget to follow me personally on Instagram and TikTok at SportsCritCutie. We are about to hit March Madness of women's college basketball. We're here. Shout out to my girls. Shout out to my Cal Poly women's basketball team. They are currently in the Sweet 16. Can't wait. I've been watching. I've been streaming. Just want to give the girls another shout out publicly on all platforms and streams. I'm very, very proud of my 5 girls that are in my classes, and of course the whole team and Coach Danielle. But anyway, I have notes here, and it still don't matter. I'm still going to go to the left. Okay. So the WNBA, they're entering one of the most financially promising eras ever. I really want you to unpack that, hold on to that, put it in your pocket, right? So when you hear that they're entering the most financially promising era, you would have to ask the question, why is the higher ups taking so long, dragging their feet, etc., to give these women what they deserve because they are the product. So let's look at several developments. Several developments have changed this economic landscape. So there's been a new multi-million-dollar media deal, and it started 2026. Okay. Lots of moolah. I know as a consumer of the WNBA, this past season excited me so much because I was able to see games on TNT, ESPN, Amazon Prime, WNBA app, YouTube Live, etc. Right? So that's fantastic because the ways in which we can support the women physically just watching the game has expounded exponentially, right? Then there's been rising television ratings. Y'all can't say shit about no one watches women's sports. I mean, I can't tell, right? Record attendance, global visibility, expansion, franchises. Let me tell you something. The Golden State Valkyries. Oh my gosh. Wow. Man, it was so wonderful to see another team, another expansion team in the W, but also the way that they played. I really don't think anyone had many high expectations for them, and they blew those expectations out of the water. And it was a really great thing for the league, not only to have another ball club, but to see the Golden State Valkyries play as well as they did. So record attendance, expansion franchises, global cultural visibility. Women's basketball is no longer a niche product. To me, as a young whippersnapper, 1996, 1997, thinking I'm gonna go to the league, all 5, 6 of me, but I saw myself in the product. And so it was never niche to me, but it's a growing sports economy, which, good people, raises a very, very simple question. If the league is becoming more valuable, who benefits from that value? And that question sits at the center of the WNBA negotiation classroom. Buckle up, get your iPads and doodads, knickknacks, and paddywhacks, give a dog a bone. Now, remember last episode, I told you I want you to get a little composition book and write SportsCrit on it. Write SportsCrit notes, okay? SportsCrit Lab. So we can have one hub. We can have one hub of intellectual thought as we unpack and as you go about your week, okay? I want to introduce you to my SportsCrit Tenet that pays homage, and that is the lens for the WNBA collective bargaining agreement, the foundational lens, right? SportsCrit Tenet, progress is made when power gets paid. Let's get into it. All right. So this moment illustrates the SportsCrit principle of interest convergence. Social progress only happens usually when those that are in power, well, they don't necessarily lose all of theirs. The needle gets moved when there is some sort of financial benefit, when there is a what's in it for me. I've talked about this principle slightly in former podcasts, but now we've got this most delicious case study that is ongoing, and the drama is ongoing. So social progress only happens when justice aligns with power's financial interest. Little Johnny Manziel for you, okay? Now, what I want my SportsCrit scholars to really dig into is because you're no longer going to be able to look at life the same. Not me saying I'm wrecking people's consciousness. I am. You'll never be able to look at sports the same. So, in interest convergence, in the SportsCrit, progress is made when power gets paid. There are usually 4 conditions that take place when the needle moves for equity, for justice, etc. And I want us to really look at it as I break it down and share, are these things happening with the WNBA and the collective bargaining agreement? The first condition, you ready? Here we go. Economic pressure. The league's economic growth is accelerating. Once again, games are being sold out. It's the most beautiful thing that I've seen in my, 25 years of life. Not too much on it, Dr. G. Media rights are expanding, right? New teams are entering the league. Players are the primary drivers, good people, of that cultural value. And so, which means ownership now faces a very interesting dilemma. They face a choice: share the growth, or they risk labor disruption. Economic pressure, that's the first one, okay? That pressure that they are feeling. The second condition, mainstream mobilization. That's why it's such a beautiful time to be a consumer of women's sports, to be a fan, to be an analyst. And you know what? For you haters, for all the critiques, it's a beautiful time for you to be here too. Come on, step on in. Haters are welcome because you're watching. You might as well pull up a seat and learn something. Mainstream mobilization. Women's basketball has reached this very beautiful cultural tipping point. What does that mean? Viewership is exploding, right? Attendance is rising. Athletes are becoming household names. What I love is, well, I mean, it's intentional in the George-Williams household. But when Austin says, I want to watch basketball, I put on women's basketball. We had on some March Madness last night, and Austin was like, oh, boys. Yeah, boys play basketball too sometimes, baby. Okay. So then let's go to the third condition. Remember, there are 4 conditions of interest convergence, and we're looking to see if they're showing up with regards to the WNBA and the CBA collective bargaining agreement negotiations. The third condition is brand risk. So the WNBA has built this beautiful reputation, good people, of one of the most progressive leagues in professional sports. If you have time, one of my recommendations, SportsCrit recommendations from a media standpoint, is the Prime Video documentary, The Power of a Dream. This was a wonderful docuseries on Prime Video that literally followed everything that happened as the WNBA was in the wobble during quarantine. So, you know, the pivot that had to take place because the world shut down 6 years ago. And there was negotiations as to whether, you know, there would even be a league, NBA, WNBA, NHL, MLB, you know, NFL, the likes of it. And so they followed things that took place, one, to get them prepared to go to the wobble, the solidarity, the political activism that took place during that time. But what I thought that was really cool that the documentary really sheds a light on is, once again, how progressive they were, because the league is over 70% Black women. I don't know the percentage of women in totality in the league that are part of the LGBTQIA community, but we know that there are great intersections of identities that take place in the WNBA, in which the women and the individuals feel very safe. They feel that they have a community. So why would they want to give that up? Why would they want to risk the brand that the WNBA has built, particularly that the players have built? So a labor conflict, good people, would damage that identity. They're progressive, they're feminists, they let the women be who they are. There is a Pride Month, and there's all these really dope packages and things with regards to women sharing their background, sharing their life, sharing their love, right? You fuck that up, you fuck up the brand of the WNBA. So the owners know this. A labor stoppage, a labor dispute would really risk that brand, and the owners know this. But they know something else, that historically, women's professional leagues have had less financial leverage, just historically. And they know that. It's been a lot less than men's league. They know that, which means negotiations can stretch longer. Okay. The final condition in which we've seen historically, systemically, particularly from that SportsCrit lens, the fourth condition of interest convergence, progress is made when power gets paid, is structural preservation. This is what I want you to really lean into. You probably heard about brand risk. You know, no one wants to get canceled. No one wants to be on the bad side of history, but structural preservation. This is where the SportsCrit Lab starts to cook. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? Remember, SportsCrit Lab, we look at systems, we interrogate structures. Who is it built for whom, who concedes, who doesn't? How is the structure maintained even in the face of public concession or movement? This is the most important condition, because power rarely gives up structure. Instead, it offers reform but preserves the system. Higher salaries, higher caps, higher bonuses, but ownership will still control the system. What does that look like? Revenue definitions, accounting structures, and even league governance, meaning who exactly are the folks that make the decisions ultimately. That's the structure that usually stays in play. That's usually the structure that is that last piece, the elephant in the room, the one that, folks can feel it. They can't touch it, but they can feel it, and they know that they're still trying to hold on to power. Then the fundamental power relationship remains unchanged. The system stays the same. The public perception is that they reached a deal, yeah, but it ends up being convergence without transformation. And that is so incredibly important to know, to feel, to analyze, to see through the SportsCrit lens. All right, so let's take another break. I'm having a good time, and the fact that we get to look through it from this intellectual curiosity lens is really making my heart jump for joy. So we'll be right back.
Welcome to another SportsCrit Quick Hit Sports History Edition. Cheryl Miller and the USC Dynasty. Before NIL, before Caitlin Clark, there was Cheryl Miller. Her. USC from 1983 to 1986, 3 Final Fours, 2 titles, and a movement. She rewrote what dominance looked like in women's sports. Miller turned every game into a testimony, proof that women's basketball was not a novelty, but a revolution. She gave women's hoop its swagger, and the world took notes. I know I did. Before you can't see her, we saw Cheryl Miller, USC hoops, Black excellence, a dynasty built on fire and faith. And that was another SportsCrit Quick Hit Sports History Edition.
And we're back. So anytime, like I said, I have the opportunity to share about what I'm building, the foundational theories and scholars and philosophers, right, that helped me build SportsCrit. I always want to make sure I'm giving them their props. So I want to talk a little bit about some labor theorists. At its core, WNBA and CBA negotiations are not just about basketball. They're about labor economics. And so in labor theory, workers create the value. Makes sense, right? But capital controls how that value is distributed. That's why we are here deadlocked at a crossroads, because value seems to be looking different depending on who's looking at the WNBA. In professional sports, athletes generate the spectacle, the games, the narratives, right? The fan engagement. It's all the players. But ownership controls revenue streams. And that's a problem, right? Collective bargaining exists so that the players can rebalance that equation. That's why they bargain for a certain amount of years, then they come back to the drawing board because things change, landscapes change, and honestly, it continues to change for the better for the players in the WNBA. So when players organize, when they negotiate, when they leverage the cultural momentum, mobilization, that's when the balance begins to shift, and the owners and the commissioner knows that. That's what SportsCrit calls interest convergence. Remember, progress is made when power gets paid. So I want to give a little shout out to these scholars that really continue to help me build this framework, reading their work, and then how can I put my SportsCrit lens and spin on it. So Dr. Harry Edwards, of course, The Revolt of the Black Athlete, Jay Coakley, Sports and Society. That's one of the texts that I use in my SportsCrit classroom, right? In addition to my pedagogy and my frameworks, Rodney Fort and Andrew Zimbalist. They talk specifically about sport labor economics. David Berry, athlete labor market research, which is really extensive and really cool. And then lastly, giving a shout out to Gerald James. He talks specifically about sports labor and history. Okay, so wanted to give them their props and give them their flowers. Also, anytime I have the opportunity to talk about anything with regards to the hashtag SportsCrit Classroom, I want to provide an alternative perspective. Once again, we look at systems, we get on top of the building, baby, and we look at all the different lens, approaches, and views so that we can have a critical analysis. So to keep this balanced, we got to acknowledge and really understand the intellectual curiosity that y'all are embarking on. So to keep it balanced, we have to acknowledge that ownership often argues leagues require financial stability. We need the money to keep things afloat. I get it. Okay. Salary caps can maintain competitive balance where, Asia Wilson and everybody, their mama are on one team. It keeps the competition balanced, right? There's some sort of parity in the players, and I mean that just makes good sports, right? Good fan engagement and just good ass games. We don't want to see blowouts every single night. Owners also acknowledge, right, and we must acknowledge that too, the revenue distribution must account for operating costs. And we know in this economy, right? And so these arguments form the ownership side of labor economics. And speaking of owners, I want to play a really interesting clip that former Michigan star, NBA star, now NBA analyst Jalen Rose played. He was on a podcast and he really brought up a very interesting question that fits so perfectly in the SportsCrit Lab. But I'll let you hear for yourself. Check it out.
Only sports that have salary caps are black-led.
Wow.
First off. So that's basketball and football. Those are only sports with salary caps. Baseball, golf, NASCAR, tennis, you can keep naming it. They do not have a salary. That's the first thing.
Holy shit.
Is correct. The second thing is they have no after high school restriction. So that's a residue of slavery. Is because we're going to get money off of you for multiple years for free.
This particular clip by Jalen Rose really helps give me that alley-oop. No pun intended, but pun intended. Harkening back to the first layer. And that's where I lay this foundation to have them look at other systems, to understand that these type of systems also reside in sports. And so one of them is caste, right? Scholar Isabel Wilkinson describes caste as there's hierarchies in society that assigns value to groups within that said society. And sports often operates in a variety of different hierarchies. Ownership owns the economic control. The administrators govern the system. The ball players perform the labor, and the fans provide cultural legitimacy. Okay, and so that's the hierarchy, if you will, that Isabel Wilkinson really provides me, and I've been able to put that in a caste-like visual. So historically, I use caste, right, from Isabel Wilkinson, then bringing it specifically to the sports realm. Even more intentional with regards to college sports and the National Football League. Billy Hawkins, The New Plantation, his text has been instrumental in my scholarship, but he says those layers often reflect racial and gender dynamics that also happen in American society. So he describes the system as the new plantation. Sidebar. The late great Malcolm X says racism is like a Cadillac, a new model comes out every year. Ha! Okay. I'm feeling good about what we've done here thus far. So my closing reflection for all you wonderful SportsCrit scholars, thank you for staying here. Thank you for rocking with me. I want to invite you, step into the lab with me. Let's dissect some things. I've got 3 questions that I want you to ponder on, and please post comments, and make sure you tag us, #SportsCrit, #SportsCrit Lab, right? Engage, disrupt, reframe the game, baby. Okay, anyway, but the 3 questions I have for you all, as we look at the WNBA and the collective bargain agreement, but also as we continue on, because we will come to some sort of end game, whether if it's a strike, closure of the season, a shortened season, right, or some sort of concession, and they can make an agreement. But as we just really ride the wave of what is going on with these negotiations, I just have 3 questions for you. And the first one is, where does the most power exist in sports economies? Okay, where? And I want you to think of these conditions, right? How does the media influence athlete labor value? Okay, that's where we'll also spend a little time with a SportsCrit media framing theory. That'll be a whole nother episode. After midterms, that's when we're going to have some fun and dig in deep with there. So buckle up. And the last question is, when do fans become political actors in sports? SportsCrit, good people, reminds us that reform rarely happens, or reform takes place, or reform, change, concession arrives because systems suddenly become moral. We know that there are 4 conditions that usually push those that are in power to make these decisions. to move towards equity, to move the needle. And reform arrives when inequality becomes expensive. When maintaining the old structures cost more than changing it. And that's the moment that we're sitting on now, good people. That's the moment that we're witnessing right now with the WNBA and the collective bargaining agreement. And the question remains, are we watching transformation? Or are we simply watching the price of peace? My goodness, thank you so much for being in the lab with me. My name is Dr. Gyasmine George-Williams. The people call me Dr. G. And don't forget to disrupt, reframe, and rewrite the game. I'm out.
The SportsCrit Lab Podcast is a SportsCrit collective production. We are committed to empowering athletes, educators, coaches, and fans to reframe the game and bring about lasting change. We appreciate you tuning in. Thank you to my guest music producer, Alaric, whose beat you are nodding your head to right now. You could find him at Prod Alaric, like producer Alaric, ALARIC. A special thank you to my SportsCrit Lab research team, whose insightful research and commitment to social justice is at the heart of every episode. And all you accomplices out there who are co-conspiring with us for a better tomorrow. If you liked today's episode, please don't forget to subscribe, follow, and share with anyone that you think would benefit from this new lens of the world of sports. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next week.